Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, May 28th, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feast and Marian meditations. Well, to start us off, we recall the Feast of the Relics of Our Lady in Venice, Italy. This comes to us from the Abbot Orsini, who says it's the Feast of the Relics of Our Lady at Venice, where are exposed to the veneration of the faithful portions of the robe of the Blessed Virgin, of her mantle, veil, and girdle. Okay. So it's believed that these relics, the relics of Saint Mark the Evangelist, were transferred to Venice in 827, right? So he's known as one of the patrons of the city of Venice, right? The other patroness and guardian, though, is the Blessed Virgin Mary, because on the one hand, there's a tradition that says the city was founded on the Feast of the Annunciation. And so it seemed to the people of Venice that their city had also assumed her attributes of purity, perfection, and immortality, right? Unwalled, their city had remained the refuge of worthy men and singularly unconquered for over a millennium, right? And it's interesting, too, because back in the day, all the Marian feast days also were celebrated as holidays by the secular government. Now, in Venice, we're told that there is a spectacular 18th century reliquary that contains an extremely rare first-class relic of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Remember that first-class relics are parts of the body, right? Second-class relics are things that they used in life, like shoes or pencils. I think in the shrine of St. Catherine Drexel, they have, or Francis Cabrini, they have eyeglasses and things like that. And the third class is something that's touched one of those relics. So anyways, within this particular reliquary, which bears the personal seal of Pope Pius VI, is a bundle of the Blessed Virgin's own hair, right? Right, so she was assumed into body and soul into heaven, so it's not like you have a bone of the Blessed Virgin Mary, but this is the relic that you can have, is her hair, right? And we're said that this hair has been preserved and venerated since the time of her Assumption from the Holy House of Nazareth, right? And we're told that these relics were believed to have been bought from the Holy Land by the Crusaders and are venerated in Venice in the Basilica of St. Mark, the other patron of the city. Next, we'll jump over to Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Roxbury, Massachusetts, the United States. In 1866, Pope Pius IX entrusted the newly discovered or rediscovered icon of Our Lady of Perpetual Help to the Redemptorist order with the mandate to make her known. And so that's what the Redemptorists did, right? When they would preach their missions, they would pray and always have prayers to Our Lady of Perpetual Help. Well, on May 28th, 1871, the Redemptorists solemnly enthroned a copy of her icon above the main altar of their church in the Boston suburb of Roxbury, Massachusetts. In 1878, so just 7 years later, the image was moved to a new church dedicated to Our Lady of Perpetual Help. Like the original icon in Rome, that site soon became the focus of devotion because there were miracles and answered prayers that came through Mary's intercession, right? Although originally the novena was the 9-day period of prayer, it actually became a perpetual devotion there, right? Well, people pray for 9 weeks or whenever they desire. In 1883, not long after having been designated a parish church, the shrine became famous when a young woman's spectacular recovery from a crippling bone disease followed a series of novenas there. In 1954, Pope Pius XII gave the Mission Church of Boston the status of minor basilica. Then we jump across the ocean again, and we will go to Notre-Dame des Ardentes in Arras, Pas-de-Calais in France. There, it's known for apparition and healings. We're told that it goes back to 1105, but the Abbot Orsini writes, a wax candle is kept in the Cathedral of Arras, which is held to have been brought thither, not hither, but thither, by Our Lady in the year 1095. Okay, so this place is also known as Our Lady of the Blessed Candle, Madonna della Candela Santa. It's said that in 1105, Arras was hit by a terrible disease that decimated the population. And people saw it as a divine punishment, or even as an evil punishment. So they all began praying to Our Lady, invoking her intercession. In the meantime, there were 2 jugglers. Yep, you heard that right, 2 jugglers. Itier Brabante and Norman Sampod, who were arguing heavily because the former's brother had been killed by the latter. It just so happened that after a night of prayer, both had the same dream in which Our Lady appeared to them, inviting them to reconciliation in exchange for an enormous grace, the health of the sick in the town of Arras. So Our Lady appeared to the jugglers and the Bishop of Arras, as she had promised in a dream, by offering them a lighted candle, whose wax poured into water had the power to heal the sick. Right? She said that the water containing the wax of this candle would be given to the sick, pour it on their wounds too. But Norman and Idier knew that the miracle would only take place after the reconciliation. And so, indeed, that is what they did. They reconciled. And people were healed. Then we go to Notre-Dame de Chalais in Chalais-Ariège in Midi-Pyrénées in France. There's an apparition that took place here in 1686, right? So the first chapel was built on the site of the apparition to a 15-year-old peasant boy named Jean Cordil, who on May 28th, 1686, was reciting the rosary when walking, when a dove appeared before him, leading him to a young woman dressed in white. And the woman revealed herself to be the Blessed Virgin. Stopping by a fountain, she asked him to warn the villagers to change their lives and convert to Christianity because of the disorder in this village of Salé. Following Jean's testimony, many villagers were moved and came to the site with a strong desire for conversion. 6 weeks later, the Virgin Mary appeared one last time to Jean Cordel in his bedroom, expressing her satisfaction at the villagers' conversion and assuring him that this fountain will be good. Now we jump to Italy for our last 3 feasts today. They celebrate in Viterbo, in Lazio, in Italy, Santa Maria Liberatrice, like Holy Mary the Liberator. In 1380, the Madonna appeared in the sky, calming a storm. So we're told that in the month of May, in 1320, we said 1380 earlier, and now we say 1320. We're told that the ones who recall the event are not in agreement as to which day it was, but one of them says that it was May 28th, right? So it was a very terrifying thing, right? And so in the Church of the Holy Trinity, they made a vow to Our Lady in exchange for their liberation. This is what happened. One of the guys who was an eyewitness, Giovan Giacomo Sacchi, says it this way. He says, I recall how on the 28th of May, 1320, in Viterbo, there was in the air great signs that brought terror to all the people with horrible shadows and figures of demons, which seems that they were coming all over the world. And then, miraculously, a figure of Our Lady appeared in the chapel in the field of St. Augustine. Yes, and because of her intercession and her graces, we were freed. It says Sacchi doesn't really enter into particular details, but the other ones of the time did, right? So they said that that day, these horrible shadows and demonic or diabolical images were frightening the people in the town. They just seemed to crawl over the place. And it was Our Lady who freed them from it, right? She appeared in the chapel. So that's very interesting. We also go to Santa Maria della Luce in Rome, Italy, which is Holy Mary of the Lights. And she got that name because in the year 1730, there was, this image was painted on the wall. We said earlier that was pretty common, image of Our Lady with child. And a blind man cried out for help, right, after he had heard something falling. And so, all of a sudden, he saw on the wall the image of Our Lady surrounded by light. And so he rushed out crying. He was very happy. Light, light. And so the image then became an object of great devotion. And and 2 other faithful who were in prayer had the vision of Our Lady of Light, La Vergine della Luce, right? How she is now, how that painting is now called. It's Our Lady of the Light, right? In that same year, the Minim Fathers of St. Francis de Paola were given the care of the church, right? And so they brought that part of the wall into their church. Yep. And then, lastly, we have Madonna delle Grazie, Our Lady of Grace, in Campanori in Lucca. So this is a huge sanctuary that's about 4 kilometers from the town of Lucca. In the last days of May in 1663, many healings and singular graces were given in front of this image, right? It's an image of Our Lady of Mount Carmel that had been painted in a small chapel out in the fields, right? So later there was a huge shrine and even a convent of Carmelite friars, and the miraculous image was transported into that church on July 22nd, 1665. And so that is what we are celebrating today in the Marian world on May 28th. For today's Marian meditation, taken from the book by Father Ildefonso Villar, we're going to read the last 2 points, both of them are very brief, of Meditation 74 regarding Mary's last years. The 5th point is, a most pure and virginal life. She, ever a virgin, towards the end of her life showed a greater love for the flower of virginity, with a perfumed memory of her virtues. She wanted, it would seem, to leave a legacy for our imitation. The one whom the Church in the liturgical anthem, Holy and Immaculate Virginity, we do not know with what human words we could praise thee worthily, greets as virginity itself is our mother, the Virgin of Virgins. The English of that is a little messed up. Imitate that external modesty. Eagerly conceal at the bottom of your soul the treasure of chastity and purity. And finally, the 6th point, a life of love and charity towards souls. Mary would constantly pray for all, and especially for sinners. Would not those prayers be the cause of the first miraculous conversions brought about by the apostles? How she would pray for the persecutors. How she would pray for Saul, so as to transform him into St. Paul. Moreover, that love for souls used to shine forth by helping all with her words, teaching them the mysteries of faith that she knew so well, encouraging the faithful, especially by her example. The example of her life was a beautiful sermon. Would that you yourself would be like her. Pray to our Heavenly Mother to obtain for you the grace of imitating her in some way, her holy, pure, and immaculate life. For today's reading from The Admirable Heart of Mary by St. John Eudes, we read the conclusion of Chapter 9, The Heart of Mary, considered as sanctuary, censer, and altar of divine love. And again, in this concluding part, we have basically a prayer that St. John Eudes offers. O admirable heart, O heart most loving, you are the foremost sanctuary of divine love, the holiest earthly victim, the golden thurible offering perpetual incense of prayer and sacrifice, the altar of sacrifice. You are the saint of saints and the queen of all those privileged to offer the holy sacrifice of the Mass. O reader, priest of God, think of the august sanctuary of Mary's heart, and the holy love, purity, and fervor with which you must offer the same sacrifice every day. In the name of God, I counsel you to realize the words, Introibo ad altare Dei, remembering that you go into the altar of God, which is the heart of Jesus and Mary. And when you mount the altar steps, give yourself again to Jesus and Mary, that you may be united to their immaculate purity and to a holiness higher than that of the seraphim. Those of you, O readers, who are not priests, when you enter a church to assist at the holy sacrifice or to say your prayers, hearken to the heavenly voice that strikes your ears, Pavete ad sanctuarium meum, reverence my sanctuary. That's taken from Leviticus 26:12. Tremble, because you are sinners coming before your judge, and having humbled your heart, beg pardon and implore of him the grace of perfect repentance. O Mary, Mother of Mercy, O Mother of loving grace, hide us in your blessed heart. Draw us to share in thy constant sacrifice, and immolate our hearts forever in your sanctuary and in your altar, to the eternal glory of your beloved Son.
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.